Hi, I'm Ryan Miner. I report on Maryland politics and news at aminordetail.com, and I'm the host of a Minor Detail podcast, one of Maryland's most informative politics and news platforms. Each weekday, I report on 2 trending stories in Maryland politics in 5 minutes or less. Today is Tuesday, July 28, 2020. Here's what's happening in Maryland. Now, the first story brings us to the Maryland Health Department that says the state will eventually stop paying for weekly COVID testing at nursing homes for both residents and their staff, and this has been a requirement since about mid-June. So, why the change? State officials believe nursing homes should pay for testing through the funding they receive through the Federal CARES Act. The cutoff date for funding is August 14th. Last week, Maryland's Health Department notified several senior care and industry advocates that Maryland would no longer conduct or sponsor testing. The Health Department said the nursing community should begin to arrange their private testing through outside labs. But some labs in Maryland, as you may be aware, cannot produce those timely results. Governor Hogan's spokesman, Mike Ricci, said that the state will continue to pay for testing for residents at facilities where outbreaks continue to occur. A number of small nursing facilities who spoke to the Washington Post have expressed deep concern over the burden for paying for this weekly testing. However, the governor says that Maryland is facing its worst economy since the Great Depression, and he issued a public warning last week that the state agencies under him could be asked to cut at least 15 to 20% of their budgets across the board. What do you think about this? Email me at ryan@aminordetail.com. The second story today is that the Maryland Court of Appeals says that police cannot arrest and search people during a traffic stop simply because they smell like marijuana. A decision released today that was authored by Maryland's Chief Judge Mary Ellen Barbera said the odor of marijuana, without more, does not provide law enforcement officers with the requisite probable cause to arrest and perform a warrantless search of that person incident to the arrest. The state's legal argument was that the smell of weed, or is it cannabis, pot, Mary Jane reefer, the devil's lettuce, whatever sterling nickname you have for that good stuff, could mean that someone had on their person a larger amount. And that would, in effect, give police enough probable cause to search someone detained. So here's a quick lesson, and a free one at that, on the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, and civil liberties. The legal standard police use to briefly stop and detain someone is called reasonable suspicion, otherwise commonly referred to as the Terry stop. Reasonable suspicion also allows police to conduct a pat-down of your outer clothing if they suspect you to be armed. It's important to ask police if you are being detained, and if so, it's probably best to dummy up and ask to speak with a lawyer. If not, you can ask them to leave, and you go. You have the legal right not to say anything, and in Maryland, police cannot stop you and demand that you give them your name. Police cannot arrest you using the reasonable suspicion standard, but they sure as hell can arrest you by what is known as probable cause. Probable cause is required to issue warrants to search or seize your property, or to make an arrest, and when there are sufficient facts or hard evidence that criminal activity has been, is being, or will be committed, police officers can act on that information. The officer must be able to articulate the facts, forming the basis for probable cause, or any action that they arrest you on, any crime that may not hold up in court. If you're pulled over for swerving, let's say, you tell the officer you've had a couple of beers, and that's a mistake. You shouldn't do that. If you consent to a field sobriety test and you blow more than the legal limit, guess what? The officer now has probable cause to haul your ass to jail. No judgment here, but please, please, please don't drink and drive. Also, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know a good one in Hagerstown. His name is Lou Metzner, and he would be glad to help. That's the news for today. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at A Minor Detail. Go ahead and subscribe to A Minor Detail podcast on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please subscribe to A Minor Detail's YouTube channel at youtube.com/A Minor Detail. I'm Ryan Miner, And that's what's happening today in Maryland.